Today, we're diving into the really strange and fascinating world of generative AI vision. I mean, these systems can pull off visual tricks that seem almost like magic, but then they turn around and fail in the most bizarre ways. So, what's really going on when an AI sees the world? So let's just start with a paradox that gets right to the heart of it all. How is it possible that the same technology can solve a 30-year-old cold case from a single blurry photograph and yet be completely fooled by a simple visual trick that a child would see through? This is the exact contradiction we're going to try and unravel today. All right, first up, let's look at a case where AI's visual power is, well, it's nothing short of astonishing. Think of this as the story of the AI detective. Okay, so this is the mystery photo. It was taken on an old-school film camera almost 30 years ago and then scanned into a computer. At first glance, it just looks like some pretty dappled light on the ground, right? But there is a secret hidden in this image, a big one. So a researcher gave this picture to ChatGPT-4 with almost zero context. Seriously, no date, no location, no digital metadata. All the AI knew was that it was probably taken somewhere in Illinois, maybe in the late 90s. The challenge was simple. What is going on in this picture? And get this. This was the AI's incredible answer. It didn't just figure out that those little crescent shapes were pinhole projections of a solar eclipse made by the gaps in the tree leaves. Nope. It then cross-referenced that visual clue with historical eclipse data to pinpoint the exact date and even estimate the time. That's an impossible feat for a human, but for the AI, just simple deduction. Absolutely astounding. But this is where the story gets really weird. Because for all of its brilliance, there's a fundamental blindness in how AI sees things. You could call it an illusion of understanding. And this is where that weakness is just laid bare. So on the left, you've got the classic Ebbinghaus illusion. The AI nails it, correctly stating that the two central circles are the same size, ignoring the trick that fools our human brains. Pretty impressive, you'd think. But now look at the modified version on the right. The right circle is obviously, clearly bigger, but the AI confidently insists they're still the same size. You see, it's not actually seeing the image, it's just matching the pattern of the illusion it was trained on. And it's not a one-off. The exact same problem happens here with a modified Mueller-Lyer illusion. The top line is way longer, but because the arrows kind of mimic the classic illusion, the AI just parrots its old training and insists the lines are identical. It's applying a learned rule even when the visual evidence screams that it's wrong. It gets even more absurd. When the researcher pushed back on the different size circles, one of these advanced AIs actually claimed it had measured them and found a difference of 0.5 pixels. Now, for anyone who knows how digital images work, you know there is no such thing as half a pixel. It just shows a total disconnect from physical reality. It's just making things up. And this stuff is everywhere. You ask an AI to draw a clock showing 4:43, you'll probably get one showing 10:10, because that's the time used in most watch ads in its training data. Ask for a periodic table or an anatomical diagram, and you get these surreal, scientifically wrong monstrosities. They look like the real thing at a glance, but they're fundamentally completely wrong. So what explains this? How can an AI be a brilliant detective one minute and a clueless observer the next? Well, this brings us to the core paradox. A scholar named Miles Myers once defined true literacy as the ability to consciously subvert signs. Think about that. It's not just about reading something, but having the awareness to play with its meaning, to change it. It's about having intent. And that, right there, is exactly what AI is missing. Which brings us to this really crucial idea. You can think of generative AI as a brain without a mind. It has this immense computational power, that's the brain, to process patterns from billions of images. But it has no consciousness, no intention, no genuine understanding of what any of those images actually mean. It has no mind. So at the end of the day, what the AI is doing is just incredibly sophisticated pattern matching. It's recombining pixels and words based on statistical probabilities it learned from its training data. That's why it could solve the eclipse mystery. It just matched the crescent pattern to its huge database. And it's exactly why it fails the illusions. It over-applies a familiar pattern without any real-world judgment. It's just mimicry, not actual understanding. Okay, but this doesn't mean AI is useless. Far from it. In fact, when you really understand its limitations, it opens up a really exciting new possibility. Creative collaboration, a new way forward. So take a look at this design. It's a pretty powerful visual commentary on the nature of false beliefs. But the original spark for this idea It actually came from an AI. So the human designer was just messing around with the AI Claude, and it made this simple linguistic observation. The word lie is inside the word belief. Now, the AI just saw the pattern. It was the human designer who took that little insight and transformed it into a meaningful visual concept. Neither of them could have created this piece alone. Here's another great example. A human designer created this really clever piece where the word today emerges from the overlap of yesterday and tomorrow. Then they showed it to the AI to see what it would make of it. The AI came back with a poem, but the human collaborator noticed something and suggested a key tweak. Flip the usual phrase to yesterday's dreams and tomorrow's memories. The AI adapted, and together they created this really beautiful, thought-provoking line. This is the sweet spot, right? The AI's massive processing power, guided by human insight and human intention. So look, this isn't just some academic exercise or a fun creative game. Understanding how AI sees the world has profound, real-world consequences. The stakes are incredibly high. Why does all this matter? Because we live in a world of deepfakes, of weaponized disinformation, and of synthetic media that can convincingly mimic real people. Our shared visual reality is now basically a battlefield, and knowing the difference between a pattern-matching machine and a source telling the truth is a critical survival skill. And this isn't some problem for the future. It is happening right now. Recent studies found that 15% of high schoolers have already heard about AI-generated explicit deepfakes of their own peers. The ease with which identity can be twisted and weaponized is frankly terrifying, and it demands a whole new kind of literacy from all of us. So what's the big takeaway here? We need a new kind of visual literacy for the AI age. That means we have to start questioning what we see all the time. It means understanding the context of AI-generated media and authenticating information before we share it. It means learning to use these tools as powerful partners, sure, but never ever replacing our own critical judgment. Which leaves us with one final, and I think really crucial question. As these brains without minds continue to fill our world with their creations, what will it mean for us, the brains with minds, to truly see?